So, a different video of what I normally do, but it's a tribute video to a person that I admired and enjoy watching that recently passed away today. A disclaimer, there are some pieces in this tribute of very unfortunate circumstances that happened in history, and for some, it may be a trigger. So, trigger warning, there are some scenes of sadness, death, and despair, but it's all in tribute with actual news from real sources. But again, the scenes may be upsetting to those, so fair warning for those who wish to continue watching this video. I want to talk to you today about a man that I watched as I was growing up and enjoyed watching when I was living back in New Jersey. A man who, on this day, March 12th, 2026, passed away. This man, for whatever reason, I just enjoyed watching him. He wasn't a big-time actor or comedian or drama person or musician. He was just a simple local newsman. But he did it so well with class and elegance and tried to keep everything positive even when things were not. From the Challenger incident back in 1986 to 9/11, and do so many different moments in New York history, New York City history, as well as American history and the world history. Even the late Walter Cronkite. Walter Cronkite. For those who don't know who Walter Cronkite is, Google him. He is one of the true newsmen in this world. And even though he passed away many years ago, people still try to live up to what Walter Cronkite did, even after he retired back in the early 80s. And I would say, in my personal opinion, that Ernie Anastos was just that good, that close. Ernie Anastos passed away today, Thursday, March 12th. And even at the age of 82, he was still vibrant, kind, thoughtful, and people that was watching the news when I was young, and as well as, people older than me who are still with us, and I was living in that area, knows who Ernie Anastos was if they was watching New York City news, whether it's when he was on Channel 7, he was on Channel 2, he was on Channel 9, and then he retired on Channel 5. But all the TV markets in New York City that did 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock news knew him and respected him and loved him. So this is a little bit of a retrospect and a tribute to the late Ernie Anastos.
Newcomer at Eyewitness News. He is Ernie Anastos.
This is Eyewitness News with Ernie Anastos, Roseanne Scamardella.
A spectacular fire roared through two apartment buildings on Cedar Street. Everyone got out safely, but most with just the clothes on their backs.
The Knicks is at the Felt Forum in Madison Square Garden, where 5,000 people are meeting to protest treatment of Orthodox Jews in Israel. We'll have a report tonight at 11. Anna Bond is in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, where hundreds of people are angry over their neighborhood police precinct being moved.
Lennon said, "I'd like to make some more records before I toss." The interview was given 7 hours before he was shot and killed in front of his apartment building, the Dakota, in New York's Manhattan. And now we can switch to the park in Ernie Anastos.
Roger, we are here, Central Park. We are not very far from the band shell, as you can see. The band shell is decorated for Christmas. And you can see a large wreath in the center of the shell, and on each side there are two large bouquets of flowers, and there's a picture, of course, of John Lennon wearing the New York City t-shirt. New York City has turned out for him today. There are about 125,000 people that have gathered here. I've had an opportunity to go out and chat with a lot of the folks. Some have come here from last night, others early this morning, and I must tell you that it's a strange feeling. Many of us who at one time stood in line for a Beatles movie or for a concert are here today, and a lot of us with children, and looking at each other and thinking and remembering and trying to feel something. I looked in the eyes of people who were in their 30s, and I just said, "Why are you here?" A very simple response. They said, "You know." I think that sums a lot of it up.
This morning's explosion of the space shuttle was the first air disaster in 56 man-in-space missions. And yet, in many ways, today's tragedy is a reminder that space flight, any space flight, is still risky business.
Our coverage of the terror that has struck the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. Police say that it may in fact have been a bomb, a massive bomb, that caused an explosion to rip through the PATH train station below the Trade Centers just after noon today, sending shockwaves through the buildings where as many as 100,000 people were at work. The explosion has killed 4, that is the number at this hour, and it has injured more than 200. All day long, a steady stream of survivors emerged from 2 of the world's tallest buildings, but many, of course, are still trapped inside, and rescue crews say it may be hours before they are all evacuated.
Of course, the people who are inside the building have been told not to panic. They're trying to get as much information to them. Right now, we're going to get the very latest for you. Team coverage of our story continues with Channel 2's Brian Williams, who joins us live right now from Church Street in Lower Manhattan. Brian, what's the latest?
What an extraordinary afternoon here in Lower Manhattan. All day long, Ernie, it's been a search for information. Dazed victims.
Just joining us at 8 minutes after the hour of 5, we have been on the air now talking about what we call the attack on America in Lower Manhattan, a deadly terrorist attack in New York City and Washington today. The targets, the World Trade Center, as you can see right there, no longer the World Trade Center as we have known it. Both of those towers have been wiped out. They have been leveled to the ground. And the drama all unfolded earlier this morning. 2 airplanes smacked right into the World Trade Center. And after that, it's all history. It continues.
Now the coroner's office confirms tonight that a Long Island man has died from rat poisoning. The big question is, how did it happen? Kathleen Trigg is live in Suffolk County, where police now have a mystery on their...
Ernie was one of those who obviously was paid to be a newsman. He was paid to give the news. But he always tried to make it as not as harsh and it's not as cruel, even with the biggest things like 9/11. He tried to, I guess you could say, soften the blow in situations that, how can you soften that? Especially some of the major tragedies in this world. I came up with one example. This was doing literally hours after the September 11th attacks. And he was talking to a reporter who knew a lot of people that was in the buildings that collapsed. And listen how he and his then CBS 2 co-anchor, the great Dana Tyler, try to comfort this guy while still trying to give him a thorough news report.
Vince, can you hear us now?
The firefighter that you heard in that piece, his name is Lieutenant John Ginta. He talked about wanting to cry at the sight of what he saw. I can now identify with what he's talking about. He talked about bodies in the street. I didn't see any. He talked about people being trapped in that rubble. But as many of you well know, and frankly, I'm not sure who's on the anchor desk, but I have many friends in the law enforcement community, and I've talked to friends of theirs today. And I found out that many of my friends are in that building, 1 and 2 that have collapsed. And you try to distance yourself from this stuff, but when it hits home, it's a far different story. So my prayers right now go out to their families and the families of everyone who's been affected by this. I'll throw it back to you in the studio.
It's, we join you in what you have just expressed, and we're also very sorry about the personal involvement that you have in that story.
When you saw how close we got to what I now realize behind me, 7 World Trade on fire and expected to collapse, you know, what was really frightening is that when we were looking around, there was nobody there. It was us, and that was it. And I think at that point the realization was that we were really in a place where we really just needed to get as much video as we possibly could to show everybody just the total devastation and the destruction, and then just get out.
Well, it was dramatic to watch, and we also have some video right now that we're looking at. You interviewed one of the firefighters there. You were talking about the number of people that are missing. He said that they don't know. There are many trapped inside, but they can't go in, I heard him say, until that fire is under control. Do you have anything more on that as to when they might be able to get in there?
Ernie, all I can tell you is that everyone that is talking to me right now, fire officials, police officials, emergency officials, are telling me they'd love to go in there and do whatever they can to try to rescue anybody that might still be alive. But they can't. There are too many things on fire. There are too many buildings that they are concerned with collateral damage that could collapse at any minute. And imagine the catastrophe that would then take place, that if you sent in hundreds, maybe thousands of rescuers to be in that situation, to have 50, 60, 70 tall skyscrapers around them collapse on them. It's wrenching their hearts. This is what they get paid to do. But right now, nobody can go in. You just can't.
Vince, I know it wrenches your heart, too. You and I have worked together for several years here, and as I look at you standing out there, I think of you at TWA Flight 800 out in that boat in the water in that dark night after that plane crashed. And I know how moved you were by that and how moved you are by this. And we're not talking about comparing tragedies here, but we're talking about what we do for a living. And I know that it is hard as you do this work, and we commend you for what you do as you've told these stories.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vince. And as we say to you, as to all of our reporters and all the people that are out there, be careful. And we certainly will talk to you in a short while.
Ernie Anastos retired in 2020 after being on the air in the New York City metropolitan area for about 4 decades. But he still continued to do a lot in the news business, but try to find more positive news, to be a mentor, to inspire good news, positive news. As far as I remember, he was still doing a podcast in the New York City metro area called Positively Ernie, which I have a clip of it. And he was still on Instagram, not as much as, let's say, the regular person, but he was still doing commentary. He was making comments, but positive comments. He was the person that was like, and I remember a quote where he says, it's hard to say good evening and the news you have to give is not good. So he was trying to be the guy that would say good news and good evening, or, you know, good morning or good evening, and here's the good news. And he did a book, Ernie and the News, a children's book, which made the Today Show. But he did a lot of good things. I mean, he was a positive person. He was really much loved. Even today, as I'm going through all the clips from all the old TV news, and even the news that, unfortunately, his colleagues and friends had to give, it shows that he really was a good man.
Positively Ernie with Ernie Anastos, a New York TV legend and radio host with great positive stories and interviews.
Thanks, Ernie. You're the best.
And now, here's Ernie.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. Nice to have you here. We're really having a good time always, and I love doing this program because I talk to some of the most interesting people you want to know. And we talk about things that I think are uplifting, interesting, informative, and we like to look for solutions to problems. I don't know, because I am. Tony Danza is here, my man.
Andy,
how are you? Good to see you.
Fine,
My
good to
goodness,
see
you know what?
Thank
You are so full of energy. Every time I talk to you, you're like on fire. I love that about you.
Yeah, I'm, you know, and you know, I'm getting a little late. I mean, you know, what is it? You know what I'm saying?
No.
But I try to keep, you know,
There's a great line.
You know, you got to keep being a student. You know, you got to keep trying to learn something every day, and
Yes.
and you got to try to, I don't know. You got to. It's hard because you know sometimes you read the paper, it's depressing.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, listen, you can get really down.
Yeah.
But you know, it's all about attitude. And you and I both know that.
Listen, what you've done is something that is going to live in our television history. You've done such a superb job over the years. You've got such sympathy when sympathy is needed without overdoing it. You've got dignity when dignity is needed without overdoing that. And doing that sort of thing really is the mark of a great professional in our business. You're the greatest, Ernie.
Not a lot of people can say that when they hit their 25th anniversary of being a reporter in New York City, that every single New York City news department did a nice little tribute to him, whether it be a couple of seconds or maybe a minute or two. But anybody that knew Ernie Anastos respected him. And it was a cool thing when all the New York City channels, CBS 2, NBC 4, Fox 5, ABC 7, then UPN, but now Mine 9, and then WB, but now Pix 11, did their little congratulations tribute. And this was when he had his 25th anniversary as well as his Lifetime Achievement Award, which he received the Emmy for. Not a lot of people can say they have that type of respect and admiration and love. He worked at 4 of the 6 news agencies: Channel 2, Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel 9. He didn't work at Channel 4, and he had a slight affiliation with Channel 11 with his Positively Ernie show before his passing. But everybody who knew Ernie Anastos knew him and loved him and respected him.
For tonight, legendary New York news anchor and our former Fox 5 colleague Ernie Anastos has passed away.
Ernie's career spanned multiple decades. He came to New York in the late 70s, where he anchored the news at multiple local stations.
That's right, and he came here to Fox 5 in 2005, where he worked for 15 years before leaving in 2020.
Ernie Anastos passing away at the age of 82. Ernie, a household name for decades. He sat on the anchor desk at various stations in New York, including Eyewitness News Channel 7, where he shared the desk with our own Kaidi Tong, CBS 2 as well, UPN 9, as well as Fox 5. Over the course of his career, Ernie has received multiple Emmy Awards, including a Lifetime Achievement one and an Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Writing.
Throughout his career in recent years, he had developed the program Positively Ernie. You saw a little bit at the top, very appropriate. If you knew Ernie, you knew he never lost his passion. And who looked better in a tux? Seriously?
I know.
Seriously? Yeah, you know, I say, Dickie, you gotta look perfect all the time. And who could be? But every day, it was like his first day on the job. Ernie knew everybody. Everybody loved Ernie. His wife, Kelly, tells me he died early this morning of pneumonia at Northern Westchester Hospital. He was 82. And Christine, you know, as you said, I worked with Ernie right at the beginning of my career at Channel 9, later at Channel 5. I remember going into his office once, and Ernie's on the phone, because he's always on the phone. And he's like, sit down, sit down, sit down. And I sit down, and I said, sorry to interrupt. He goes, you know, I was on the phone, and he said, and he points to his Rolodex. It was one of those old-fashioned ones, right? And he goes, you see that? Those are my friends. And I laughed, but I thought to myself, you know, I bet you he's right. I bet every single one of them were his friends, because that's what he was.
Because that was his personality.
Yeah.
He was always on, always like, he was the epitome of an anchor.
But the funny thing is, when you say he was always on, that was who he was. Off the set, on the set, never forgetting a time. I remember one time, it's Christmas Day. The phone rings on the desk. tell Dickie he's doing a great job. I'm like, who calls you on Christmas just for the heck of it? That's the kind of guy he was.
I use this word at 5 o'clock. I describe him as elegant. He was an elegant man.
Classy, wonderful, loving. We miss him.
And talk about a man. He was a news legend in New York and throughout the tri-state. He was also a news legend here at Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Tonight, we remember him, Ernie Anastos. He was 82 years old. He was something unique. And no matter your politics, Ernie was trusted. Reporting the news, reporting truth and facts, that's what Ernie believed in. In one of the many pieces of a video we have of Ernie, he talks about what it means to be an anchor.
When you're out on the street and people come to you and they say, I was watching you last night, and they'll tell you what you were reporting. They'll tell you about perhaps a comment that you had made, something very personal, something that makes you really understand that they were watching this thing. They weren't just, flipping down, just passing by. They were sitting down and paying attention to what you were talking about. That's very personal, Bill, very personal. And I think particularly at Eyewitness News, the reputation is there for wanting to do that, to reach out and to make sure that we are in contact and connecting with our viewers.
Wow. Ernie was on several stations in our area, but he made his bones on Eyewitness News from 1978 to 1989. Ernie always kept up with his friends at the stations, including working with me 5 years ago when I interviewed him about the night John Lennon was shot and killed. Ernie was out front of Lennon's house moments before Lennon was shot, before the 11 o'clock news. 2 weeks ago, Ernie sent me a note, said, "Hi, Bill, love watching you and stay happy and healthy. Ernie, we will be more than missing him, to be sure, a lot more. Ernie Anastos."
The subject is truth, and that's what people are looking for. It's not easy these days. There are so many different platforms that people can watch the news on, and people wonder, is it news or views? Well, that's a whole different topic. I really want to just mention the fact that truth is so important in life. It gives us a sense of order and decency, and we need truth for our relationships with our family, with our friends in the workplace, certainly in the political world. It brings a sense of order to us, and we learn discipline from it. Now, we have to teach truth in our homes, in our schools, wherever we have that opportunity. I'm a big fan on truth. Walter Cronkite was one of my heroes, and he was one of the most trusted men in America. And I think we all have to sit back and say, let's stand up for truth and support it and make sure that we live it on a day-to-day basis. Truth, I should say. That's the thing that we really have to remember. Daniel Webster said it best. There's nothing more powerful than truth. Let's practice it. Daniel Webster said it best. There's nothing more powerful than truth. Let's practice it.
How true is those words from the late Ernie Anastos? That was his final Instagram post on March 3rd. And Ernie passed away 9 days later. Rest in peace, Ernie. And thank you for everything you've done. Godspeed.